Checkouts, or better yet, what we like to call the Give Me the Money page. This is where you close the deal. Just little changes to this page can affect your conversion rate and your chargebacks. But here's the catch. On Shopify, less is more. So let's go over what you can change, what you should change, and what you shouldn't change with Shopify checkout. Okay, first off, we're gonna start by checking out the standard checkout styling. And this is available on all plans. And then there are gonna be a couple of items that are specifically for Shopify Plus. And I wanna do this so that you know where you should focus your energy and where you don't need to. All right, let's start off by going to my computer. All right, we have a standard Shopify store set up here, and it drops us here on the dashboard, our basic starting place. Now, there are two places that you can go to customize your checkout. It's two paths to get to the same place. So let me show you both of those. First, if you go to Online Store, you go to Themes, and then you go to Customize. Once you're under Customize, at the top, there's this menu button that has Checkout and Customer Accounts. If you click that, it's going to take you to the checkout settings. That is the first way to get to it. The second way to get to it is if you're on your dashboard, in the bottom left-hand corner, we have Settings. Click on Settings, a mobile window will come up, and then you can go to Checkout. At the top, you'll have a Checkout Customizer. Now, what's great about this is if you like, you can go and duplicate this checkout configuration, go set it up the way you want, test it out, and once it's good, then you can publish it so that you're not messing around with the checkout while people are shopping on your store. All right, now let's go into the checkout and start modifying things. Now, one thing I do want to mention, and this is a common misconception inside of Shopify, is the checkout page is not stored under pages. So if you're on Online Store and you're trying to find your checkout under pages, it's not going to be in there. And the reason is because this is a secure page. This is special code on it, which allows people to put in their secure checkout information. So in Shopify, you need to customize a checkout individually from what you'd normally do on pages. Moving into the checkout customizer. All right, so when it deposits you on the customizer tool, you'll see on the left-hand side, you have a couple of branding options. Now, a lot of the things that we're gonna go over in this demo is foundational work, so that'll set us up for later on. So we're gonna be bouncing between the theme customizer and settings inside of Shopify in order to get everything configured. Our first step is we're gonna start in the customizer. So first off, we have our logo. So you may have gone and added your logo to your theme settings. So if you're under theme settings on another page, on the checkout, you're gonna have to choose it again. So we're gonna go and add image, and we're gonna grab our long logo in here. Now, you wanna make a decision. If you wanna have a long logo at the top, you can go and do that. If it's something that works with your design, or if you don't want to have a logo, you can just simply put in text. Now, it really depends on the branding that you want to create. On this particular store, I actually think that it works better with the text than it does with our logo. Now, if we had an inverted logo where we only had, say we only had the hearts here, and that's way too big. Let's make that smaller. You can see it's very difficult to see in this type of thing. So this is where it's important to make sure you try out a couple different options to see what looks best. In this particular checkout, we're gonna go with the text option. Now, we have the option to change the alignment, so we can change it left, right, or center. I'll be totally transparent with you, it should be on the left. I don't even know why they give you this option, because the way that the checkout is designed, by putting it in the center, you end up making it off balanced. If we're trying to make this as easy as possible for people to check out, you wanna keep your stuff on the left. Now, the logo position, you can change on different pages. So if you wanna have it on the order summary page, you can see what it looks like there. You can see what it looks like on the checkout form, and you can see what it looks like on full width. Now, this is why I say that it should always stay on the left, because on all three of these items, the different items that we're looking at, it looks best on the left. In the center, it just doesn't fit right. Next up is background. Again, I don't understand why there would be a background here, background would just distract people from what you're trying to do. Now, the key, like I said at the beginning of this tutorial, this is the give me the money page. We want to make it as easy as possible for people to put in their credit card information and check out. Every little piece you add to this page is going to distract people from doing the purpose of the page, which is to put in the credit card information. Now, when I said less is more on Shopify, Shopify has rigorously tested their checkout. This is the highest converting checkout in the industry on the internet. So everything that you go and modify on this is going to reduce that number. Okay, so you have the option to add 2 backgrounds to it. So if you wanted to change the background on the right or you wanted to change the background on the left, you could absolutely do that. So if I wanted to change this to red and I wanted to change this to blue, or pink, I could absolutely do this. But now you can see it already is way harder to read. So, while the options are there, I would not change it at all. I would keep it exactly the defaults that Shopify gives you, because that is what's going to convert the best. Now you have some options for your accent colors. You have some options for your different field highlighters. And you have some different options for your font. Font is one of those things that if you change the font to match the rest of your brand, it can be great, but it goes way back to when you originally choose the font. Is it a font that's easy to read? So if you go and choose a sans serif font that might be difficult to read, or something that is really compact to fit with your brand, you can see if you stand far back, you can't actually even see what that says. So again, if possible, stick to the stuff that has already been chosen for you. Okay, coming down to the bottom, we have the type of layout. So Shopify offers 2 types of layout. They have a single page layout, which allows people to fill in their information and it continually updates as you go down. This has a higher conversion rate. Or if you wanted the traditional 3-page layout, which walks people through the steps, as you can see at the top here, we have cart, information, shipping, and payment. You can go back to the original one that they created. Now, for most stores, 1-page checkout is set up by default. It's the best experience, it's the most converting, and it works really, really well. Next, we have our address autocomplete. So if you're in the US or you're in North America, this works extremely well. It finds the address, it autocompletes it with the zip codes, because both of their zip code systems work extremely well. However, if you're in a country that doesn't have a great zip code system, this address autocomplete can actually cause a lot of problems. So you might want to turn this off if you're working in some place that does not have as good a postal code infrastructure as the United States and Canada. And then we have the buy it again button. And the buy it again button is something that shows up on the final page once you get to checkout. So if we go to checkout and we go to order status page, hold on, sorry, it's on the thank you page. No, there it is on the order status page. My mistake. There it is right there. It adds the buy again button. So if we wanted to, we can turn off the buy again button and it won't show up on the page. I don't think there's any harm in having it there. But it's up to you and what you have on your brand. All right, so that's an overview of what we have on the checkout page. Now, part of the checkout page is the privacy policies, your return statements, and your terms and conditions. At the bottom of your checkout page, you're going to have your privacy policy. And this is the privacy policy that I have set up on the store. Now, this is actually pulling from a specific page in the site. So just like the checkout page is a specific section inside of Shopify, so are policies. So if you go into the theme editor, you can come down and you'll see there's an option in here right at the bottom called policies. And these policies you can go and set up. So I have gone and set up the privacy policy based on my settings. Now, I haven't yet set up the terms of service. So I can go into terms of service, I can insert the template, and it will auto-generate a terms of service based on the information that I've entered into the store. And so when you're going through your store, the thing you want to make sure that I'm gonna hit discard here. When you're under your general and you're setting up your billing address and your information, you want to set this up first so that when they go and generate the policies, it's generating it from a place where there's information. So this is let's see, AB, let's say we were 7782322, DBA, passive aggressive shop, passive aggressive shop, Canada, our address 555 Main Street, sure, apartment 111, fills in all of our information, and we hit save. Now that I've entered in these general details before I went to the checkout, if I go to policies and I go terms of services and I insert template, it will see that it has already added in the information. Now, let's just go up to the top here. Yes, so it's grabbed the name. At the bottom, it should be inserting that information. Let's just go and have a look here. Manage, return policy. Let's go back to general. Billing address. This is all the billing address. Great. This has all been set up. Let's go to policies. Contact information. Insert template. Okay, terms of services. Insert template. Ah, I see. Okay, so if we publish this, and then we go to checkout, and we go to customize, and we go down to the bottom, and we open up terms and service, and we go to the bottom of the terms and service, it doesn't auto set it. That is so strange. Okay. So, I am wrong on the terms of service side of things. When you go and fill out the terms of service, you will have to go through and put in your correct information. You can see down here, it has put in block spaces where you have to go and insert your individual information. Now, terms of service doesn't go and auto-generated. However, if you go into contact information and you hit insert template, you can see it does insert that information. So it's one of those things inside of Shopify. It doesn't completely fill out everything if you fill out the general information. So you're going to need to go through and read all of the policies to make sure they're right. But if you do fill out general, it will give you a little bit of it will make it a little faster for you. So once you've published both your terms of service, your policy privacy, and your shipping policy. So if I just say, they don't have a template for shipping policy. Shipments will arrive when they arrive. Once I've added those policies in here, and I can insert a template for my returns and refunds. Great. Once I've set all of these up underneath policy, and I go back over to checkout and I go to customize, you'll see that these links will now start showing up along the bottom. And if they're not set, they won't be there. So if you hit shipping, we've now got the shipping one. If you hit privacy, you've got your privacy policy. If you have contact, it'll have your contact information, adding more trust to the checkout so people know that they're going to a physical location. You have your terms of service, which people can go through and read. And everything is now set up correctly. Now, I would recommend you read through each one of them. I'm not going to do that on this tutorial, but go through each one. Make sure that all of the information in there is accurate. Shopify will try and fill out the information that it has available from the general side of things, but it doesn't do all of it. And that's something that is good for you guys to know to watch out for. All right, next, after we've got that checkout set up, now what we're gonna do is we're gonna go through payments. So we've now set up the checkout, we set up the buttons, we set up the privacy policy. Now let's go to payments. So if we go to our payments module, we can go and activate Shopify payments. So we're gonna go ahead, activate Shopify payments, and it's gonna take us over to a wizard, and we can walk through this wizard. We can say we're an individual, we can say we're a registered business, we can select our business type, we can go to the next page, and then we can go and fill in our information. Now, in recent years, this information has become a little bit more strict. You need to have business licenses, you need to have a physical address, you need to have a phone number, you need to have all of these things set up before you go set up payments. Now, if you have a existing business, you're already going to have all this stuff set up. But if you're starting an online business from scratch, you're going to need to want to make sure that you have all this information before you get set up payments. And also, you'll need a business license in order to set up a business account so that there's a place for people to deposit your money. Now, once you've gone and set up all of this information, you can then go and configure things like Google Pay, Apple Pay, Express Checkout stuff, Pay with Amazon. Now, those things are only available for you to set up once you have Shopify Payments set up. Now, Shopify Payments is a product, meaning that it is set up to add additional information, add additional functionality other than just a regular payment processor. So once you have that all set up, you can go in and modify it. Let me see if I can get you guys an example. All right, here's an example of a different account that already has Shopify Payments set up on it. So after you set up Shopify Payments, you can go in and manage those payments, which allows you to set up the different payment types. So you can have Shopify Pay with installments, all of the Visa, MasterCard, American Express, Diners Club, Discover, as well as the wallets for Apple Pay and Google Pay. And you can simply turn them on and off when you need them. For now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to set up a bogus gateway so that we can continue with our tests, so that we make sure that everything is working on this video. A couple things that I do want to quickly mention. With Shopify, you have an option called Shop Pay. Now, some customizations on Shopify are made on the cart page or the checkout page. It's important to remember that Shop Pay doesn't go through both. It doesn't go through checkout and it doesn't go through the cart page, which means if you have a specific customization that is restricting users from buying things, you need to turn off Shop Pay, because Shop Pay goes through a different channel, so people can actually order if you're trying to prevent them from like logging in and ordering. Generally speaking, if you're doing anything fancy, Shop Pay is probably going to be disabled. However, if you're just doing a regular direct-to-consumer site where someone comes on and purchases, Shop Pay is great because then you have an additional distribution channel inside the Shop app, which allows people to find your products and buy specifically from there. All right, now let's go to some of the settings that we're going to go through for the actual checkout piece. So this is the pieces that you want to enable when you're setting up checkout. So first and foremost, you want to set the contact method, phone or email. Now, you can either have it just email if you don't want to collect phone numbers, or you can have it set to phone and email. Now, you can show a link if they want to track their order inside a shop. And you may want to require customers to create an account before they check out. Now, if they create an account before they check out, you're adding friction to the whole process. So this will reduce your conversion rate. However, some businesses require you to have an account in order to make sure that the customer is a good fit for your business. As far as the customer information goes, we want only require last name. You may want to make it so that you require first and last name. Depends on the business that you're running. You can decide whether you want to include the company name, the address line, the shipping address. All of these things are either don't include them, or you can set them to optional or set them to required. So you have a lot of flexibility around that side of things. Now, when it comes to marketing options, you want to turn on both email and SMS by default. Even if you decide later on that you don't want to use them, I would highly recommend that you turn them on. So you can choose which regions you want to allow these SMS to collect from. So say you're only doing SMS in the United States, you may want to select that as an option, and then it won't ask in any of the other states. Maybe it's just Canada and the US. Sure, you can connect it through there, or you can have it show by recommended by Shopify. Now, in this case, Shopify recommends United States only. But since I'm in Canada, I'm going to actually go in and I'm going to say United States. And oops, let me go through this list here. And I also want to have it push it for Canadian people. And so now I have two regions that it's going to show both email and SMS when people sign up. Now, we also have the option, if you want to show the tipping and checkout, you can say what the presets are,
You can hide the tipping option until the customer says yes, they want to leave a tip. So if you're doing something that is customary for people to tip, you can add that in checkout. This was something that came along during COVID when a lot of restaurants were using using Shopify to fulfill their orders. Now, it's got a couple of automations built into the checkout. For example, automated checkout emails. I recommend that you turn on automated checkout emails if you haven't yet developed a email outreach strategy. So if you're using something like Klaviyo in order to do your email outreach, you may want to turn this off because Klaviyo is going to handle those abandoned checkouts. However, if you're just planning to get started and not use a third-party service to run your email marketing, you may want to just use the built-in one that comes from Shopify. You can click on Customize Email, and it will take you to the email customizer. You will have to save your changes before you go over there, but that's covered in a different tutorial. Now you have your checkout languages. So if you would like, you can go and change the languages will automatically change depending on what country the browser says that it's in. So if someone is in Mexico, for example, and they have their browser set to Spanish, Shopify will automatically change the checkout to be in Spanish because the browser is telling the website, hey, this person wants stuff in Spanish. Now, if for most people, it's going to be set to English. If you would like, you can actually change some of the words based on that language. So certain people want to soften the language that's on the checkout, maybe reuse it for a different meaning. That is what's done when it comes to the language on the checkout. Then we've got some advanced preferences. We may want to change how we capture address information, whether we require billing information, whether we want to validate the shipping address, whether we don't want to use the shipping address as billing by default. Really depends on your business. And then you have your add to cart limit. So if you want to limit the number of things that people can add to your cart, say you're doing flash sales and you want to make sure everybody gets the same amount, you can add in that cart limit on the checkout page. And then finally, you have checkout rules. So now checkout rules are a piece of the checkout that has come as a part of the change to the new checkout where you're not allowed to customize the checkout page. Checkout rules allow you to do some sort of customization so that you can add different messages on that checkout page without having to write any checkout scripts or have any JavaScript that runs on that page. And we're going to go over that now. So if you go into your checkout, there is an app that you can install, which is called Checkout Rules or Checkout Blocks. Now, this is an app that's free on all plans. You can add dynamic content or you can add static content. But essentially, when you're on a particular page, so if we go to the order status page, and I added in this block at the top, which says your order qualifies for an upgrade, I can add this messaging in at the top by adding in a static content block. So if we go here and we go to our sections here, so we have our sections in here, we can see I have my static content block. Now I can move it depending on where I want to put it. So if I want to put it over on the order summary, I can move it over to the order summary. If I want to move it to the payment details, so it's a payment one, I can move it above payment details, which is, it floats down here. If I want to put it above, let's see, I can put it in items. Right, so it shows your items. So if this is an item specific customization, we can put it in the item specific spot. Now, if we are a Shopify Plus, we actually have a line item options that we can add. So we can have a line item edit page, which allows us to grab that block ID and then add specific modifications for that line item. So if there's a line item that shows up and you want to add a specific call out block to that line item, that is a Shopify Plus feature. It's not available on Shopify Core, but for these more advanced merchants, you can go and do that. All right, last but not least is the cart notes. So we've been talking mostly about the checkout
page. So this is the give me the money page. There's another page, which a lot of people often call the checkout page, but it's not actually the checkout page. It's the cart page. It's the page that comes up before you get to the checkout page, or before you get to the give me the money page. So if we are on that cart page, this is how it has the cart page here. We might want to capture some notes from customers. Maybe we want to have engraving. Maybe there's special shipping instructions. Maybe there's special handling instructions. If that is something that we want to do, that is theme dependent. Now I'm using the Horizons theme, and in the Horizon theme, you do have the option to go to theme settings, go down to cart, and then you can toggle on allow a note to the seller. Now we're going to go and add an item to our, we're going to add this item to our cart so that we can actually see this thing show up. So let's add this to the cart. Great. Let's go to the cart. And now we have this special instructions piece that's showing up at the bottom. If we go to our cart page, that's the drawer, we will see, we now have this special instructions on the side. Now, if I want to remove the special instructions and I go to cart and I turn this allow note to sender, I click that on, and when it refreshes, it no longer shows up. So this is a theme dependent thing that you can use in order to add cart notes to your orders. Now let's take a minute and talk about some of the things that we didn't cover in the customization of the Shopify checkout. So things that often get asked about the checkout side of things that didn't get covered in this tutorial are things like taxes and shipping rates. So those types of things are set at the product level, meaning that when you set up a product, you actually determine whether or not it gets charged taxes, whether it's a physical product, whether it has a weight, or whether it has dimensions to it. And then you can attach that product to what's called a market. Now, a market is where you're going to be selling that product. There is too much on the market side of things to go through that in this tutorial, but I do have a tutorial that specifically talks about selling internationally and that market, so stay tuned for that. That'll be coming out soon. Now, if you want some more help with checkout and you want to be able to go a little bit deeper on the stuff that I've talked about here, maybe you have a special use case that you're looking to get answered, I connect directly with members of my community through DMs. So if you go to expertbymonday.com/community, sign up, you can send me a message. I will audit your checkout. I'll help you figure out exactly what you need to configure, and I will make sure that your checkout is converting as high as possible. All right, that's all for this one. Everybody have a great day, and we'll catch you in the next one.